All right. Welcome to the good stuff. This is the big episode 30.
New handle.
30.
That's big.
It's like a new digit at the start.
Well done, man. I think it's pretty solid. That's pretty solid effort.
Yeah.
Year one. We've still got some time to run on it as well.
So we do
That's not
52
bad.
and then bang.
Is
done.
that it? You know when to...
We'll see.
No, you quit in your prime, right? That's it.
All right. Well, let me know when we've hit some prime.
Yeah.
We'll go from there.
Very good. How you been?
I have been tired, distracted,
Good.
and hectic
Good.
for the last week.
Excellent.
So,
That's what we
I
want.
think when we talked last week, I was heading down to the Bush Bash and I was running a vibe coding workshop for everybody.
Yeah.
I set myself the goal of having like any normie in the audience can from their phone build like a Bitcoin wallet. And it turns out
Yeah.
not easy. There's actually a lot of things, a lot of edge cases to deal
Yeah.
with when you're putting that together. So
What a surprise.
so it involved quite a lot of hectic, like not really sleeping because I just had this problem running around in my head. So how where's if someone's got their own laptop and they know what they're doing and they already have all the stuff installed, it was very easy.
Yeah.
But to cater for the person that doesn't and then the person that's on their phone was there's a lot of edge cases around how you host stuff, like where it's hosted, how you secure it, like how you then make it available to people.
Yeah.
So I had to learn like a whole bunch of new stuff about DNS and routing and nginx that I didn't know beforehand. I've learned a lot of new Linux stuff that I hadn't focused on for a while. And then there was all the edge cases of just, building something that anybody can pick up and use.
Yeah.
But it was quite successful. So
Very good.
we were limited in many ways. So it was the second day of the thing. We lost the original room that we'd booked for the session, which would have had internet in it. So we had no internet in where we were, and we were in like the little courtroom in Boston.
Yeah.
So it was just absolutely jam-packed full. Like I was sat up where the judge would sit, like dictating my vibe coding workshop on the telly. So I think like one of the guys had brought he had a Starlink. He just chucked that outside. So that was our only internet. That was just overloading constantly. So that was a challenge.
Yeah.
But we got through it, and about 15 people came out of it within 30 minutes. They had downloaded, set up, and then customized their own Bitcoin wallets. And I was like,
Yeah.
all right, that's
30 minutes is the part
that's
that is
very quick. To do
Very,
this. Yeah.
very good. I mean, 30 minutes, it's almost like, I don't know, that almost feels like it's too difficult to achieve in 30 minutes. It's like a hard cap on 30 minutes. Like a lot can go wrong, or just needing to pause.
It was absolute chaos because like of the 15 people saw it through, like a bunch of people bailed out because they were trying to do it on their own machine. They was like, oh, I don't have that installed. That's okay. All right, sod it. I'll go back and I'll try this. I'll try and help these people, and then it like consolidated into groups of people doing it together. But it was absolute chaos because then there's like once people got into groups to do it, now they're all just chatting. I'm trying to like dictate stuff from the front. I couldn't easily move around the room because it was so full.
Yep.
Then the internet started breaking, and it's just like But it was.
What's your take on the group?
good.
So, because when you mentioned the group approach to it, like I immediately thought, oh, that's interesting. I wonder if that would be beneficial from a learning perspective. But if they're talking about like, getting on the beers in the next 10 minutes.
I mean,
then
there was probably a bit of that because then I think once a few people had bailed out. But it was more that there would be like, say, one more technical person there would be helping a couple of other people for it. So once they got theirs up and running, they can then turn around and help somebody else get it done. And then, once people got the wallets, they start sending money backwards and forwards, as is always the way. So that was cool.
Nice.
But it was, to do it was insane though, because I realized that I just hadn't really thought a lot of it through. I just said, oh, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And then, as all good plans, it got punched squarely in the mouth. And I think my initial feeling was, I'll do it for all the people that want to do it themselves. So maybe there'll be 10 people in the room that bring their own laptops and they're set up and they want to do it. And then everybody else can kind of watch me walk through it, and they'll see how it works. Because I've done this before, where you live vibe code stuff, and people quite like that. But I was surprised how many people wanted to give it a go, and I was like, oh, you know what? I can probably get this to work. And that probably sounds smaller than it was. It was a big probably, not a little probably.
Yeah.
It turned out. But I kind of had to reverse engineer like the whole Replit stack is what it feels like by the end of it. But now Wingman, like it's...
Why was that?
Well, Replit does several things, right? Like it's both a development environment and a coding agent and a hosting environment.
Yeah.
And so I needed all of those bits.
Yeah, okay.
And so, like, you know, I couldn't even give anybody on the machines access to the terminal, nor would we have wanted them to, because that would have scared the crap out of them, you know.
Yeah.
That's the reason that nobody can engage with these tools, is they're all in the terminal, the CLI. So I was like, all right, well, so to get the Git stuff down, right, okay, well, I need to build a way to do that. So you can just take a Git repository as a starter and then build on top of it. So all the controls for that are all built into Wingman. Most of that was kind of already there. That was good. So then I invented this concept of like app hosting inside there. So you can get a repo, clone it into Wingman inside your own user space. So like Wingman didn't have any user namespace before like 3 days ago. So like that was all new. You could clone it in there, and then you could spin it up and run it using the local server and connect. And I used to connect via Tailscale, and I always knew what the port was, and I could manage the ports because they're all my apps. Which you can't do that like as soon as this is like a bunch of normie people. So okay, well I need to figure out that, and I need to have like subdomains for everybody, and I need to have routing rules for how I resolve all this stuff. And so I had to make all that, and then I had to, So there was just a lot to do to get it so you could like click a button and the app starts, and then you click the button to go to that website. That was hard.
All scaffolding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it made it quick, and I think people were very surprised. They're like, I've done it, it's there. It says, it looks different. I'm going to change that now. And then they start fiddling with all the components of it. And the idea was to do it like a Winamp skin type thing. So the idea is like, look, I'll take care of, you're not going to like hand code this cashew wallet. Like, so we use like eCash wallets for it. That there's one repo, you hit a button, spins it up, and it builds the wallet. And then what you have from that is like because all the components are there, you've already got like, how do I spend, how do I receive, how do I create tokens, how do I scan invoices. I had like a starter that had all the functions in it, but it looked bad. It was just a bland blue corporate wallet. And then the first task for everybody was like, okay, well, let's just choose a new color and make it that color. And you literally just say, make it this color, and like 30 seconds later, it's now that color.
Yeah.
And you say, okay, that's good. Now let's change the entire theme of this thing. So let's give it like more something to go on. And I think the one we did in the room was like, let's make it. Someone said Back to the Future, and someone else said make it a wallet that's been seized by the FBI. So we had like a wallet that's been seized by the future FBI. Sort of like how it came out. It had all these like hazard stripes on it, and like, this wallet's been seized, and like this is how we can like requisition money from the thing for the invoice. But it changes like all the language, all the look and feel of the thing, but all the components are kind of the same. And so again, you have that like reskinning of wallets, which is what made it sort of possible in that time frame. But you can, then you realize, okay, well I can do one more thing next. So let's say I don't like that particular function. Can I now change that whole function?
Yeah.
Inside there. So it went down pretty well. I was just surprised like how much heavy lifting I hadn't really thought through, because Wingman was always just like it's built to be its own thing on its machine. But I think it makes sense it does make sense to have multiple people on it. I think we said a few times, right? Like maybe you don't like one per business, and then you want multiple people on the machine. Yeah. And so I've got a few extra things to do now, which will be just to enforce better isolation around the AI agents and their namespace. So, you don't want somebody spinning up like a codex agent and then just maliciously removing stuff from the main Wingman stuff, which is probably possible inside that session, and nobody did, so that's good. But that should be all isolated away, so I'll have that solved this week. And then...
I think that's, the aim of the game was always to just flatten that feedback loop so that people just get that like aha moment, that moment of discovery. It's like, oh, right, cool, I just did a thing, and that's magic.
Yeah, and you have a room, and like every now and again, it's just, I've done it, sort of thing. And like, for people who've never like done any They
Yeah,
just
it's-
don't do anything with computers. I'm like, I changed the colour.
That's
Like,
where the
I did
addiction
this.
comes from, though.
Yeah.
You know, like I know you and I have had that experience multiple times, like progressively as well, as you start to like achieve more and more technically difficult and ambitious things. You know, that dopaminergic aspect kicks in. You're just like, oh, cool. I need to just keep going, keep doing the next thing, and
Yeah.
so it's almost like it's a wheel. You just need to get everyone rolling slowly, and then they take off on their own momentum, their own speed.
Yeah.
And that's all you could really ask for in a session like that. But especially in 30 minutes, I mean, yeah, I feel like if you can achieve that in 30 minutes, that's powerful.
Yeah.
Especially if people go away and like, it'd be interesting to know, like what people go off and experiment with and build, and you can chat to them after, or you get them to share that publicly. That'd be cool if everyone starts like just sharing their own like little building journey.
Yeah, that would be curious.
Because I do wonder like what kind of flywheel it kicks off as well.
I mean, this is one of the reasons why I would like to have at least our version of Wingman that's more publicly accessible, so that people could do something like that and then stick with it and just explore it a little bit and see what works. Because it's kind of it's cool if you can do it in a room and you play with it, but then you'll want to do it again, and it's so much easier than a lot of the other tools that I think you would try and go to one of those tools and go, oh, I just don't even know if I know how to use this.
CLI is just way too foreign, I think, for most people.
Yeah, and you know, Codex and Claude now both have their web-based versions, but even that, it kind of assumes you've got your own GitHub instance. It kind of assumes, you know, it's more for like PR and patching existing projects than it is starting from scratch. Like, there's a lot that isn't there. So I think maybe I'll create like a default template project for just like, all right, here's a SQLite, here's like a button TypeScript setup, here's all the scripts for starting and stopping it and installing and everything that works with Wingman natively, and then you can just start with that and then build from scratch directly in there, which would be cool.
I think this is why I gravitated toward Cursor initially as well, because it was quite intuitive. Like the layout wasn't really like threatening in any way. You know, sometimes you can look at a UI and just be completely blown away by the scale of the options ahead of you, especially when you see like just you know, code just sat on your screen.
Yeah,
I think that can be quite intimidating for a lot of people, especially if they're non-technical. So I quite liked that initially.
Yeah.
And it is funny how, like, personally, I've kind of gotten to a point where I quite enjoy playing in the CLI now as well. Like, it's just, I like having all of the kind of the dev tools there that we can dive into. And
I just find the things that annoy me with the CLI tends to be stuff like copy and pasting can be a real bitch, particularly if you're on remote machines.
Yeah.
And like just scrolling back up through a history of something can sometimes be an issue, or you accidentally close a window and it's gone. But to avoid that, you'd run like some sort of session manager in there, and that has its own complications and stuff. And I'm like, oh, there's just so much here that it's just so much easier if I just run a web server that I can look at, and then I have all the niceties of being on the web.
Yeah, I think the thing I've stopped doing a lot is these kind of very granular changes, you know, might seem really simple, that I then have to like obviously go through and describe the context, what I want to change, what's not working about it.
Yeah.
And I actually find it's easier to just completely step out of that environment, go back to planning doc, create like a mini spec, and then just feed that back. And again, it just provides scaffolding for Claude Code to work with. I feel like that it can be like, obviously.
So this is like you build inside the CLI, and then you plan outside.
But I'll step out and I'll step back in, step back out. So there might be, you know, one little problem. I won't just go and build a spec sheet for that. That seems annoying. But often I'll find that there's a chain of things.
Yeah.
And so it just makes sense that instead of me going like trying to write context out for each one of these little things, I'm just going to step out of this environment. I'll go back into planning mode. Let me actually like build a new like implementation plan to get on top of this problem. Give it all of the context in a markdown, and then let it run on that. And I find that's a lot more effective removes the need to just be constantly copying and pasting back and forth, and also just gives me a bit of like, it is slower though. Like, this is part of the challenge. Like, I mean, for me, it's like I don't really feel the need to optimize for like speed around code generation, because it's already like 100 times faster than like anything previously that I've tried to imagine. So that isn't such a big deal. I think for me, it's more like, do I fully understand what it is we're trying to do? Do I understand the problem that I'm trying to solve? Is the bug here like just an isolated thing, or does it like, you know, have its tentacles in various parts of the code?
I think the thing that you're optimizing for, and I was thinking about this earlier today, weirdly, was that you optimize for agency. Because that's the thing that's like kind of addictive and very useful. That's like, true. It's more, and this is why you take the time. Like, because if you're optimizing for speed, you would never ask it to explain anything. Yep. But you're not. You're optimizing for like agency, because you're saying, look, like, it's about me understanding that I can do this. Like, I've already got this win where I go from like, okay, well, I don't need to hire 5 people for like hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, instead, I can just do it myself. So the win is so big that then it's like, okay, well, but to do it myself, I need to understand it, and therefore you optimize more around like, how do I move quick enough, which is already just way quicker than it ever needed to be. But it's about me understanding and me being able to do what I want to do. Like, that seems to me to be where
I think so.
Like, the big payoff is. It's about the agency that these things give you.
Yeah.
It's like, you can now do this.
Procedurally, I think it makes a lot of sense as well. If you step out and you build little artifacts along the kind of the course of a journey, the course of a process, you've got then like this audit trail where you can look back and go, oh yeah, these are the things that we did. Whereas if you run it up in, like, for instance, if I'm in Claude Code, before it compacts that context window, you just lose it, right? You just don't know what was done prior to that if you don't have like a running record of the steps that you've taken. Especially if you started out with a plan, you've deviated in a number of different ways. You want to create little artifacts that show where you deviated, why you deviated, what was changed. And I think those are just like that just feels really hygienic. It would be the kind of thing, if you're running a business, that would be really handy to have, because you just got this like audit trail of all of the things that you've done. And most processes have natively a bunch of artifacts that are produced at various points in the process. And so it makes sense to me to actually try to like slow down sometimes and like build using the same logic. Because I will often forget as well. It's like, I can't, I'll pick something up after a week. I've said this a bunch of times, I'll have this ADHD where I'm just switching across like half a dozen different projects. I'm like, damn, what did I do 4 days ago on this? I just can't remember for the life of me. And I'll often have to ask Codex or Claude Code, like, where in the plan are we at? Like, just tell me, give me a summary, give me like a summary of the to-dos that we have next, and that will help me reframe. But it's just, I feel like having those little artifacts are really handy for my benefit and also for the model's benefit.
I mean, a good way to do something like that is, so for a similar reason, like I have like an orchestration or an automation maybe in Wingman that's just called highlight report that will just go through my entire, like the full code repo on there and like read the Git history of like everything that's been committed in the last 24 hours and tell me, like, do me a highlight report of all the different features that I was working on. And to be honest, that might even be a bit too broad. You could just run this overnight on each code repo. And then if you have, like, so I usually have like a docs repo or a docs directory inside there now, which is not committed to Git, because I just don't need. It'd just be too noisy to have like all that history getting pushed up there. And then you could just have like a change log in there that just says like every 24 hours, like what's been changed, and this just runs every night. It knows all the changes that have been going. It keeps track of like all the plans and things, and then you can just have it reread that to tell you like where are we at in the plan, or like even every morning before you come into your desk, you just sent an email, or you get like when you open Wingman, I could have like on the front page, all right, here's where you're at. You could do that actually. That's actually similar to like what I put in Stackwork back in the day.
Yeah, that's quite good.
Kind of like open like day ahead sort of thing, and it just says, all right, I looked at everything like overnight. I read everything that you've done. and then I read like what you had in terms of plans, and then these are the things that we were working on. So just a reminder. It's not like telling you what to do, it's just saying like this is what you were doing.
Yes. I think that's quite handy. Again, like a lot of this stuff just mirrors how we'd work.
Yeah,
with
I might
other
need to
people
put
as well.
to-dos.
Yeah, to-dos would be handy. But yeah, it's interesting because these are things you can easily overlook if you just slip into pure vibe code mode where you're just feeding off of the dopamine of just like constantly churning out all of this code, and then you see it in practice, but you don't actually know if the hygiene's where you need it to be. And for instance, like part of the reason why I'll step out and create these little like mini spec docs is because I find that like the less scaffolding you have, the more these models will just hard code just to try and like get through to the kind of the substantive part of the build. And then you're having to go work back at various checkpoints going, can you just like find all of the nonsense you've hard coded here and like create a list for me, and then like work out how to solve this. You know, it just like creates more work down the line by skipping those steps. So it's almost like you slow down to go faster, if that makes sense.
I mean, because I keep meaning to just refactor some of the main components inside Wingman that got a bit out of hand. And then the other day, like maybe about a week or two ago, I just added to the agents.md, like, all right, this file and this file are getting a little bit out of hand. Like every time you visit this file and you need to edit a function or you add a new function, don't do it in the file. Like if there's a function already there, take it out, put it into a helper, restructure it into this sort of format, and then reference it from the main file. And like just only touch the stuff you need to do, but never add code to this file, just pull it out. And it's just like slowly shrank back over time as I just do more and more work. It just sort of slowly reorganizes the project. And it's like, oh, that's working quite well. Like I was surprised. So it's like one little update. And I think I would probably, at some points I would have that in there and some points I wouldn't have that in there. But like for now it's required because it was getting a bit big to make changes to.
Yeah, I imagine like this kind of stuff would be really handy in Wingman as well. If you do have like multiplayer Wingman, a bunch of different seats, let's say it's inside of a business, like it's good to just have these little like artifact reporting functions as well to show like where are we at. It's like version control as well to some degree. It's like,
so I have some tension here, so this might be interesting to explore where, like, I use Wingman for all of my coding day to day.
Yeah.
And in getting this demo together, I made a lot of changes that made it easier for Wingman to almost become like the hosting environment.
Yeah.
For all of these like little apps that I was doing. I was like, well, but like Wingman to me was never, it's not supposed to be a coding setup necessarily. Like, but as I alluded to, I kind of like reverse built Replit, like without really thinking about it, 'cause it's just a bit too busy. So, like, I wonder, like, is that actually the way to go? Because, I mean, I think the big win for something like Wingman is that it, as we've said many times, like, it should just run the business. So you should be able to configure Wingman to run your business, and then Wingman is the thing that you look at to see if it's correctly running your business.
Yeah.
Like, that's where I want it to be. Like, you know, ambulando, I will be off walking.
That's it.
It will be off solving. It's the solvator. I'll be the ambulando.
Come up with the ideas. It can execute them for me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, it's I wonder like how far down that path to go around, because you could like put a bunch of collaboration tools in there for like multiple people working on the same code directory and things, and I wouldn't have thought of that, because I'm mostly just doing the stuff myself.
Yeah.
Right. You know, you've got your projects, I've got my projects that we're working on, but we're not actively doing a lot on the same things.
Yeah.
Currently. And certainly, like, it's a massive win for, like, it's kind of hard to have multiple people vibe code onto the same project.
Thing. Yeah, exactly.
But that can be a bit of an issue. I mean,
well, you just have multiple agents. I think where we'd spend the time would be on the planning.
Yeah. So more collaborative planning. Maybe.
Yeah. I suspect so. And then you might have these like gateways where you'd review it and go, okay, wait, is this what we'd envisaged? Because I find myself doing that a lot anyway. But I think if you're collaboratively planning a build, I suspect that's where you'd spend more of your time, and then you just have multiple agents actually.
I mean, I think it would make sense as well. So if you think of like a feature that like say Wingman didn't have identity. Putting identity into Wingman was a lift.
Yeah.
And so like, that is itself a feature branch, and you could imagine saying to somebody, right, your job is to do that.
Yeah.
And everything's like, because I also, I have some reasonably advanced good practices built into Wingman, so I can like carve like is one button, you can carve out a new Git work tree, and it will isolate all of your changes into a particular feature branch that shares the root directory and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Which is good, but like I don't know, I just don't know if I'd want to get too involved with trying to make it good for programmers or not.
Yeah.
Maybe it depends if they turn up and decide to start giving me money, I guess. Like
That always helps. Yeah.
But I do think like the collaborative tools would probably, I think you're right, like it's about the artifacts in there.
Yeah. Well,
So-
my question would be like, what's the benefit of just creating another version of Replit with a few additional features?
Well, that's it.
Rather
I'm not
than-
sure I need to.
It's like
compete.
a different way of working.
That's
right?
it. Like it doesn't make sense to me to compete with Replit.
Yeah.
But it would make sense to me to compete like inside just a small niche. And I think the role of Wingman should be like it's about agency.
Yeah.
Right, as we go back to Wingman is about optimizing for agency. So like, can you use Claude Code to code from the web? And can you use Wingman to code from the web? Both, yes. Okay. When they lobotomize Claude Code and it turns to shit for a month,
Which they will.
which it does,
Yep.
they do every time before they release a new
Guaranteed.
model. Can you just switch to Goose to Codex, to OpenCode, to Gemini?
Yep.
No, you can't in Claude
That's
Code.
it.
Yes, you can in Wingman because you have agency. Like if you've got something that you want to run on local models, can you do it in Claude Code or Codex? No, you can't. Yes, you can in Wingman. Like if you want to run full open source, can you do that? Yes, you can in Wingman. If you want to host Wingman yourself, yes, you can. Like I think really it's like Replit, you can't. If you want to use, I actually don't know how they do the agents inside Replit, but I assume it's their own agent stack that they built. I don't know if you can swap out the models. I don't really use it too
I
much.
don't use it. No.
I never got into it. It's one of these things where I like the idea.
Yeah.
I think it sounds like the sort of product that I can see people using, but I won't. I mean, it probably doesn't help. It's like it's called REPL. Like
Yeah.
it's just like it doesn't. That's not useful to the normie.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
I actually do think Wingman is a good name.
I think so too.
I think that's.
It was a UI
That
thing as
helps.
well for me because
Yeah.
I started with Replit, and once I saw Cursor, I just thought, oh yeah, cool. Like that for me was like instantaneous like that. I just felt more comfortable in that.
Well, I think there's
environment.
also something about it being on your own machine.
Yeah.
It's like Replit isn't on my own machine. The Claude stuff is not, like when it does the development, it doesn't do it on my machine.
Yeah.
And like, unless you, again, I think I said last time, like if you've got like really good DevOps stuff and you know how to sort all this stuff out, then you can build stuff that you can run well in containers
Yeah.
on other people's machine that just works. Maybe you're really good at nginx. Most people aren't. Like I'm not even going to fucking touch it.
Yeah.
But on my own machine, like I can just configure it the once, and then it works on my
Yeah.
machine. And then I can press the button on my machine, and it hosts it on my machine, and then I just talk to it on my machine. And I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
this is fine. Like I'm okay with this. But it's I don't know.
I think Wingman in that respect is more normie friendly actually, because you're actually allowing people to play in the areas that they're already well versed in, which is more the ideation. It's more like directional. It's strategic. It's planning. It's I think that is a much more human space to operate in as well, rather than having to then get them into a development environment,
Yeah.
an IDE. These things are really foreign.
So this is nice, right? Because this is a nice little planning, like an impromptu
Yeah.
open planning session for Wingman. But because maybe the way to think about this is it is like it's almost like an OS for your business. It's like, what would it look like to run a business in an AI native way?
Yeah.
So yes, you're going to need agents to live somewhere. And like yes, there's going to be a bunch of apps that you need. And so instead of ever just getting SaaS apps, you just build them natively.
Yeah.
But maybe that's a good framing for this, because that would direct like some of the things, right?
Yeah,
Because the business
for sure.
itself would have processes, which is what we've got in the orchestrations. It would have people, which is the agents and the sessions that they run and the work that they do. It would have a set of files, so we've got the file system.
That's reporting.
Then maybe there's some more like strict artifacts
Yeah.
for how this would be. So there's like kind of, you almost have like, it's like you've got your, you have your file system, and then you have your business records, and your business records are actually defined in a certain set of things that you care about. because you could have like, if you had those separated out, then maybe you have the agents can write all your business records and your compliance stuff and they get referenced in certain projects, but they're maybe a little bit more controlled and special than files in a file system.
Yeah.
They've just got like no version histories on them and things.
Yes. Because you'll often have like, like just thinking outside of the development environment, you'll have a bunch of like real world compliance requirements as well in many businesses where you actually do need to have paper trails and little artifacts that just record your own internal working. To make sure that you're operating in compliance with whatever regulations your particular industry has to adhere to. And they're just little like operating artifacts that sometimes where businesses get caught out is they just don't have particularly good record keeping, or people get busy, or you try to create the artifact after the fact, and that's just not particularly useful. Whereas like the agent can just be particularly good at going, yep, this is like a mini artifact, it's record keeping, and I can reference this when called upon, because that's kind of all you need. And then it becomes like, you've got the kind of the brain environment for thought, for strategy, for ideation, and then you've got like a process you can kick off, and then you've got the reporting loop that then just keeps you. It's like when you go into like whiteboard mode, we'll stand at the whiteboard, we'll draw a bunch of stuff on there, and then we'll walk away from the whiteboard. We then need to go and execute on that stuff, and it's like what would be great is if you just like kick off the process and the shit we've just written on the whiteboard starts getting executed, and then we just come back to it every so often and go, what's the alignment?
I'm starting to wonder if that would actually be great, in the sense that like, because this is like one of the things that comes up every like few times, is like what the way you would expect these agents to work is kind of like, you get it to write its own plan, it runs its plan, it does the thing, and it iterates on that until it's done, it passes all the tests, and it just comes back to you, and you're just like sipping a cup of tea, like having a lovely time. And the reality of it is that doesn't work for almost anything. But it does work autonomously, but it works autonomously very nicely in little chunks.
Yes. That's it.
And as soon as you like, and then you can like try and be like give it a big plan or a grand thing. It can all be documented as well. But it just won't stay on track.
Exactly.
And it's like, it's almost like it will give you all this agency, it'll give you like an enormous productivity boost, but you have to be there. Like that's the one requirement, is you actually do have to be in the loop. Otherwise, it'll just come up with its own plan that's different. So it's almost like, and I'm wondering if maybe that is just preferable. Because the other problem I've had with these things is when I don't get involved. I'm like, when I was a software engineer and we're trying to shit out a demo every week, like, like there was a certain amount of times where I'm like, all right, I'm just about to go to bed, I just build this and I give it like a massive plan. And I look at it in the morning and it's like, the problem is I can't use this because I can't move it forward because I don't know what you've done. And it's not necessarily about the code that is done. It would be like in anything in a business. It'd be like, do you really want to be responsible for something where you don't know what it's done? And the answer is probably no. And so maybe it's just never actually preferable to not know what's going on. You should always be in the loop. It's just that you shouldn't always. It's just that when you turn up to work, you should get so much done that it's really energizing and really worth your time. But the goal shouldn't necessarily be to take yourself out of the loop. It should just be to have a hell of a loop.
That's it. Yeah.
Something like that.
Just like the shorter loops, though, I think. Right?
That's what I mean. You're in every loop, but you're always there. The loops don't happen without you.
That's it.
Yeah.
You're the essential part of the loop.
And it's often been my view that you probably wanted the loop to happen without you. That would be ideal. But maybe it's not. Maybe I'm wrong there. Because if you're not in the loop, then like, who are you?
Exactly.
Like in this business, like, would you ever want to be responsible for a business?
Well,
that if you carry all the risk of the business, but you don't actually know what's been done on your behalf, that's actually a pretty scary place.
I think there's a dichotomy here, right? If you're the owner of a really, let's say, mature business, it's got very mature systems, it has a bunch of experienced people, and it basically just runs on rails, and it does the same thing over and over again with a degree of consistency. Mature businesses do that.
But the mature business is a thing that you understand
Exactly.
how it works, right? That's the point.
I'd say it's more like a small business or a startup where you actually do need to get your hands dirty in order to get to that point of maturity where you've de-risked it. And I think if you abdicate all of that to your staff, even in a small early stage business, and it's like if you're a startup CEO but you don't turn up to work ever and you just rely on a bunch of people to go and like execute on your vision. They're not going to you're going to turn up once a year and be like, oh, this isn't what I had in mind. You know, so I think in the same way you kind of do need to be an essential cog in the wheel.
All right, I think that it's like the old adage where you don't work in the business, you work on the business.
On the business, yeah.
And so this is the point, is that when you're working in these things, you'll be getting a lot done, and then you put it into a system where you understand how the system works, and that is preferable because then you can let it run. But you're never really going to get this thing where you just go, oh, I just like do this and then all the work happens. It's like, nah, you kind of have to be involved in all the work happening.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you can let it run, which is true of most stuff, right?
Or if you want it done well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and as I said, like for me, like I wouldn't necessarily want to be responsible for something that I just don't understand.
Yeah.
Like it just carries way too much risk. But
yeah, as I say, like my experience with it so far has just been I create more work for myself the lazier I am in the beginning.
Yeah.
If I just allow, like, and sometimes I will be. I'll just be trying to do multiple things, and I'll just be like, it's like the dangerously skip permissions. Just go, just build.
Yeah.
But yeah, inevitably you get to a point where the model's just ad-libbed a bunch. It's gone off the reservation, decided like what it thinks it should build, and it will just go off and build it.
Yeah.
And then you get back to a point later when you're reviewing this stuff or something breaks, and you're just like, well, I don't know how you got here.
Yeah.
And so the whole thing just falls over. I think in the same way, you kind of want that scaffolding just to have some like understanding of what you're building, but also have an ability to course correct.
Yeah.
Priorities might shift. Your own vision will shift as well. I think that's something I've found is I'll often seeing something on canvas and playing with it is way different to imagining what I think is valuable. And a lot of time I'll just go, oh yeah, this isn't really all that special. It's not actually that necessary. Or I've overcomplicated it. I've kind of mid-curved it a little bit, and it's like, well, I don't need this. Let me just like revert to first principles. But you can't do that if you just abdicate all of the work to the agent, if you're not there kind of along the way reviewing this stuff. So I wonder if there's something there. And I think it's not that big a divergence for the way people work now as well. Cause
But it makes me wonder if it's one of those hard problems, if you know what I mean, where you can't actually solve this. Like there is not, whilst it feels like it would be nice if the AI just steps in and does the stuff, and then you own the thing at the end of it. Like I think maybe that is just, you're not part of it anymore.
Yeah.
And therefore you're not like the owner of this business. Well, it's not, owner's kind of the wrong. You could be the owner of the business, but you're not the CEO of the business. So I think you don't actually know how anything works, and you never will if you do that. And that's a certain type of thing. But what you probably want to be is the person that understands the business, but doesn't have to do anything in the business. Because then when things go wrong or situation changes, you can actually respond to it.
Yeah.
Like, and so maybe it's like maybe it's like a trilemma. Like, so there's a lot of these. Like, I'm just wondering on this T-shirt whether there's probably a bunch of triangles on the back in the artwork. It was a big thing there. It's like something like privacy. It's hard to have. What was it? Private, secure, and human readable. It's like an impossible to solve triangle. You don't get those three things. You can be private, secure, but then you won't have some sort of human readable namespace. Or maybe it's private, decentralized, and human readable. Like if you add the human readable, you lose the decentralized, and if you don't have the human readable like namespace, then you can be decentralized and private. But that's the trade-off balance that you end up in. Maybe there's something here where it's like ability to respond to change, understand, and delegating shit.
Yeah.
To know what's going on. Where it's one of these things. If you don't, you could probably create the entire business without being part of it, and you could just own it. But then you need to assume that nothing else changes in your environment. So like everything stays the same from here on in, and you'll be good. That is just not the world.
Yeah. I think that's true. There is also a question of like what information.
We should imply though that you should never try and make it so easy that people don't know what they're doing.
That's true too.
You you've got to keep the person in the loop. This is a long way from where we started.
It's
like
true.
Back at the start of the podcast.
It is true. But I wonder as well, like there is probably a threshold around like what information you need to know at a tactical level. You know, like the analogy while you were talking, the analogy that popped into my head was like, you know, like a general in the war room is like aware of what the broader strategy is, but also has an understanding of like unit level tactics because they have to move the pieces around on the board, but they don't know which individual men are fighting on the battlefield because that's just too granular. They couldn't possibly know that.
No, I think that's right, and I think that's a good analogy. And again, like the on the business in the business is that like it's that you do have to work on the business, but you don't have to work in the business. So it's like the creation of the process and like how you do stuff, or the app, or the whatever.
That's nice.
You have to be in that. You've got to be in that loop. But not in the doing loop.
And it's interesting because that's the big pain point.
Once you've got there, you should take yourself out of the doing loop, and it should just do. But you have to be involved in the creation, otherwise it won't work. That kind of makes sense. So it's just two different activities then. It's the right way to think about it.
And you know, like if you talk to most people who are running businesses, that's their bugbears. They never really get the time to work on the business. They're always kind of caught up in the minutiae of being in the business. So that, I think, is like a nice bit of positioning for it as well. It's like you're able to like liberate some of that busy work that allows you to then go and focus on the business again.
So I kind of wonder if I should have a toggle inside Wingman for like the Hemingway style drunk sober modes. So like we're gonna do some drunk drunk writing, guys. Let's go. We'll do some sober reflections, sober operations, drunk creation. Maybe that's not the most.
It's probably not the most like boardroom friendly, but yeah. It does make sense, doesn't it, when you frame it like that? It does become like way more valuable, and also like in the same way that like we talk about ideas when we're out walking, like there is fluidity. If you're leading a business, like how often are you like, and maybe for a lot of people, like the problem is they're chained to the desk too long, and they need to actually be walking around and talking to people and interoperating with various parts of the business and just seeing how different things work. And that's the thing, right? That's where like the ideation happens. That's where the problem identification happens. That's where you can start to actually get these touch points in the business. It's like haptic feedback, which you don't otherwise get if you're just chained to your desk as a business leader. And
I mean, if you're a leader, you shouldn't be chained.
You shouldn't be chained to your desk.
Certainly.
So in the same way, you are like it's fluidity, it's motion. You know? And I think that's where all of the valuable insights come from. And then you just need a system to feed that into on the fly.
There's some in there as well with, like, say the COVID and then working from home sort of thing, where like there's a lot of people that will say, like, oh, no, but I'm so much more productive when working from home. I can just sit down and get stuff done. And it's like, but if you are like, if you are able to just work entirely from home, and you don't have to talk to anyone else, and there's no benefit to you talking to anybody else. You are just so eminently replaceable. Like, I mean, if nothing else, probably just to quickly offshore you to somebody that just does the same task. Because clearly the task can be described to a way that you don't have to interact with people well. And it's, in which case you'd probably just be outsourced. But again, like AI should scoop that sort of work up as well as you move along. So
the question is like, why would you want to be in that environment? Why would you want to?
That's it. I would prefer to. I mean, I wouldn't. Like, I hate working from home, despite the fact that I've done it for.
Me too.
We should buy an office.
Me too. There's a certain irony there, I think, because like other people I've spoken to that have worked for quite a long time remotely also hate it, because it's like, what do you give up? What do you lose? Like a lot of the best ideas happen when you're with other people, and it might not be through like direct communication. It's just, again, it's like a lot of the feedback is haptic. You just need to be in the environment, and that's where the magic happens.
I mean, there's something to be said that, like, you know, I'm a man.
This is good to know. Good to confirm. It took to episode 30 to confirm.
It's been debate. I mean, I didn't have a dress on in the little 8-bit thing, but you know, like you get to a certain age in your life where you don't meet that many new people
That's true.
as friends
Yeah.
as well. So I mean, even just the idea that being amongst people in an office is like that. All right, there's a bunch of like social interaction niceties that now happen in a way that you don't get if you sit at home, which again I think is just good, good for people. But you know, everyone do their own thing. Of course, I'm not one to tell you to go and work in an office if you don't want to.
Of course not. But it's also like if you think about like the activities inside the office. I mean, admittedly, it's been a little while. I've worked really hard to try and not go back to an office per se, and here I am saying there are actually benefits to them, guys.
Oh, there's definitely benefits. It's just I don't want to go to It's like I don't want to go to your office.
It's the bureaucracy.
It's like the bureaucracy and the
that
shit.
is the part no one miss. Well, I certainly don't miss. But what's interesting, if you think about like the parts that were the most like the most energetic activities inside the office were always the most collaborative ones. Like even if you are somewhat introverted, like don't get me wrong, like I actually do think I enjoy that, like those moments of introversion. Like I like to be on my own, but not all of the time. Like it's just not healthy. But yeah, those moments where you get to collaborate with people and like bounce off different perspectives and like everyone has different experiences. And they all just culminate, and where you feel empowered to share those things, I think those are like really valuable experiences to tap into. But where it gets lost is when you then have to sink back into like busy mode, working in the business, and the bureaucracy kicks in, and those are like the energy sapping moments. And that's where everyone's just like at each other because they need their thing done, and like that's not particularly conducive to good ideation and good planning and good innovation. I think like this is you want to be able to tap into those like good high energy moments as much as possible and dismiss the rest if you can.
Yes.
To the extent that you can.
Yeah, I think so. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Well, and I think this, as you said, it's like it does speak to the in and on dichotomy where it's like, well, high energy is like I'm planning the next things that we're going to do, but like once I've done all of that stuff, I would then like to put it into a place where it runs, and then I don't need to be involved. So I understand it, but I don't have to do it.
Yeah, it's interesting as well because I've like thought about this like work mode dichotomy for a while, where it's like a lot of work is like you're in a marathon. It's just slow grind over long hours, and I do get the sense that like really good, highly effective work could be more like sprinter. And I know people have talked about this before, where you have these high impact outbursts, and then the rest of the time is spent training, learning, developing, eating right, sleeping right, all of that kind of stuff. But these are analogies, but it's like what is the like the proprietary scaffolding that you could actually be developing, the skills you could be developing that are ancillary to the ones you have that could help you do that work in shorter, sharper bursts. Like it'd be good to have these like planning sessions when we need to kick off these processes, and then work then shifts from we're not spending 9 hours a day in the office, we're spending time monitoring these different feedback loops inside of these processes. I don't have to be like stuck in busy mode for 8 to 10 hours. I think that's an interesting shift as well.
Similarly, like if I feel like all the times that I've like left a job in the last sort of 20 years, it pretty much always came down to like energy of some way. It was like this is something that's just sapping stuff from me, and I'm not willing to do that for money. Like I've only got so much time, so I'm just gonna not have any money. Like it seems to be how it always plays out. But we'll get there. But you always you sacrifice the money for the time and for the energy. But like when you've got energy, it's not like you don't do any work. Like, it's like when the energy's there, it's like fucking pounding it out.
Go mental. Yeah.
And I think you like that's I don't know. That just feels like a very human way to work to me. I remember like just like listening to the Tim Ferriss podcast over the years, sort of thing. He would talk about this where he said, look, because I wrote this book and I gave it like a very clickbaity title or whatever the equivalent of clickbait was even in those days. Everyone thinks that I just like work manically for like 4 hours and then I'm done and I'm like uber high process stuff, and it's like no, I'm not. I'm like I'm like depressed half the time, and like I can't get out of bed, and I'm shit, and then I get into a project, and I'm like just on fire for a while, and then I'm like don't do stuff, and like I just think I don't think he's describing anything that's just unnormal there.
Yeah,
and that's just everybody. Everybody gets a bit down. Everybody like has lacks of energy at some point. Like it's hard to keep on top of these things, and this like the cycles,
the
and
vicissitudes of life,
like all over nature. Like everything seems to come and go in a cycle.
Mm.
You know, maybe you just got to lean into it and just you know do the work when you can. Now, obviously, that doesn't work very well. 9 to 5 work. Yeah, but that's why
it just doesn't.
I'm not really doing it.
Yeah, it just doesn't. It's never been conducive to that at all. It's never been supportive of that, even though we try to make it as supportive as possible. But it doesn't really.
So I feel like this like last, I don't know, maybe like 5-6 months or so.
Yeah,
has really been a like because it was very busy prior to that, and then it's kind of like just step back and like just gone only where the energy was, and it's starting to resolve itself now into like a couple of the projects that are like, right, yeah, these are meaningful, people are excited about them, like beyond myself, these are things that I can see clear value in, like this is where I need to be focused. It's good, but I think they're also starting to resolve into more, I think I understand what this is now.
Yeah, and the more I think about Wingman in this context, the more valuable it becomes in my mind, because I think the big challenge that every platform has right now is to, I guess, narrow the leap from like a technical tool to something that like a non-technical can use, because the vast majority of people who will benefit from these tools are non-technical. They'll have a very innate understanding.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you close that chasm? And I think Wingman's like
with one important like
caveat.
extra sentence, which is whilst respecting your agency.
Yes.
Because I think that's probably what makes it different to most of these things is you can run it yourself, you can use open source models, you can use local models, you can. It can be on your machine, it can be all the other stuff. It's like, it's the version of working with AI agents that isn't a dick.
Yeah.
Like, maybe that's the difference.
It's not extractive,
it's just, I don't think so. I mean, I think even if you sold it, like the fact remains, you could just go and buy it. I mean, I do quite like. There's an interesting side effect of Wingman, which, you know, we had 15 people using one Codex account.
Yeah.
So that's, you go, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So I can do that now, can I? It's like, yep. So as soon as you abstract that away, like you can share. If you had a small team and you wanted to just buy like the maximum accounts on Codex, Gemini, Claude Code, and all the rest of it, you can just do that and then run them all through Wingman and just share out the accounts.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
But it doesn't, and because you can run all the agents, like you're not trapped into an agent framework. If one of them gets lobotomized, you just change it. If somebody changes the, you know, like say Claude Code is still good, but the model you hit limits on it, then you could just swap out and use a cheap Chinese model in the background. I haven't built that feature yet, but I probably will. Because sometimes I wonder if I just run the same agents, but on my own models.
True. Interesting. Do you know, like, okay, what's the, like, if we had to try and like work out where the blockers are here, you know, like the thing that baffles me the most about like AI adoption for companies is that, like, the thing that seems to get adopted the most is Copilot. And I don't know if it's just a byproduct of everyone like already operating in this ecosystem.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, this is an easy thing, we can show that we're using AI. But like, I just don't understand why anyone uses it, continues to use it, because I'm not like I've got a lot of experience with it, but this seems where it caps out for a lot of people.
I mean, I don't know if it's bad. I just assume it's bad.
I assume it's
because
bad.
It's like it's the classic Microsoft tactic of, it's like, say, Teams is shit compared to Slack and Zoom, but you know, if you're the head of blah blah and you need to make a decision, and this one looks like it's free, it never is. Like, it still costs you tons of money in the long run.
Yeah.
But it kind of does the same things, but it's kind of bad and everybody will hate it. It's like everybody always hates like all the Microsoft stuff, except for Excel. People like Excel.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like it just... So I haven't used it to know that it's bad, I just assume it's bad.
And also, like, I've just made an assumption there that it's just like, there's an enterprise layer here, but it's probably much better suited to like a small business.
And like maybe for Copilot.
For Wingman.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I think Wingman's way more.
Yeah, you know, like that's.
Well, the thing
like,
is, I'm using it to build
a small business.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
Is that I think with most of the AI stuff is I feel like I've said it a bunch of times where I go, you know what, that looks like the sort of thing I would have built if I was trying to raise a business case, convince a board, like do a thing, like really think it out before I did it. But when you gave me all the time in the world and said, oh, Pete, what have you built? I built something completely different. I haven't ever built any of these things. I built a different thing. And I think there's something there that says like, well, if I could have built that and I didn't, but I probably would have done if I had to convince people, it feels like it's a product of trying to convince large companies to have a business case of what the thing should be. And it doesn't actually solve the problem. And I think the thing that solves the problem is like, is this going to be the only things I'm ever going to build in Wingman because it's built for me? So I think that's the difference, is it's not getting watered down by a lot of corporate nonsense because it doesn't have to.
Yeah, it allows you to just not operate in that environment day one. And
I feel like all of the... Because what I would expect now is like OpenAI, for instance, just becomes like almost like a big investment thing. So you'd say, well, you know, they're going to keep coming out with all these products and they'll be better. It's like, look, I already have that. Their best product is probably Codex, and it's just in Wingman.
Yeah.
So anything else they build around that's fine. I can still do it. Like I still have all the same models. I still have access to all the smarts that they've got anyway. It's just I don't restrict you to that. I can also go and do the same thing from Anthropic and the same thing from Google, and we'll just bring them in when they're required. It's just the thing that I think you really need is the business, but I don't think you should ever then just give your whole business over to Google or to Anthropic or to OpenAI. That strikes me as bad. So we'll have all the bits, but in a way that respects you. And then you go and you get a box and you put it on the box. And if you want it in a data center, I've got a data center guy we can talk to in Australia. If you want it like on a box that you own, we'll sell you a box. Like we can do all this stuff.
They provide that. Well, we access the bits that like enable your agency. You know, because there's a bunch of there's a bunch of tooling that they release, but it all just ties you to your device, your machine. You know, like I think that's quite limiting actually. Like they're good, they're handy. Don't get me wrong, I'll play with them every so often, but they will tie you down to your machine, and you just end up spending more and more time there rather than having the ability to step away from it.
I think there is a thing as well where you have a bunch of data that they don't have, and if you have a tool that you can bring into your company, that's easier. It can just be there and it can talk to the same data that you've already got. Whereas the alternative to that is that they're not going to do that. They're going to have all the tools themselves. Like this is their model. It's like it's their SaaS system. It's over there. You can log in. Oh, now you can use our SaaS system to control all your GitHub. So now I've got to have all my code on GitHub, and I've got to give you permission to use all of it, but to bring it into your system. I'm not going to do that with all my most critical business records. Like I don't want to. But if I can bring you in, maybe that's a bit easier. And particularly if I can bring you in and then not run Claude, I can just run local models that are hosted inside my own little data center setup. Like that's actually achievable for a lot more enterprises that want to be secure. So
and the model selection is valuable as well, because there may be, you know, subtasks that are better suited to, you know, simpler, cheaper models rather than needing to run everything on Sonnet 4.5. You know, it's just like, is this really like necessary? Probably
I mean,
not.
I ask Sonnet 4.5, like, how do I do this and get again? Constantly. Just like, it's so much like,
Me too.
There's so much waste in this question. Or like, I can't remember how to attach to a Tmux session. Can you just generate it again? I'm not going to search. I'm just going to
All the time.
I'm quite thankful of the new Google AI stuff these days, because then I don't I can just do it in the tab bar. Like it's so useful.
Or Google search.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's been quite good for like just reminding me of those sort of things again. It's like this user is mainly like what he mainly does is forget how to do stuff in the terminal.
Yeah.
That would be a great like specific model. Is one that's just trained on how to do stuff, common tasks inside your terminal, and it's in the terminal.
Yeah.
And you don't write the task. You just write like how do I move?
Yeah.
And then if you do that, it just gives you the command and runs it, and you're like, cool, that's fine.
That's exactly what I need.
That would be fine.
Yeah.
It's like I don't want to have to internalize like everything that exists in a computer, and I don't necessarily want to have to use a GUI for it. But this is like I want to be able to just say what I want to do, and you to understand and do it.
Yeah.
That would be fine.
I think this is the kind of thing that could really like surf the like every time a model gets lobotomized, there's this wave online where people are like, Claude Code is shit again. Like I'm gonna cancel my subscription, go to Codex, and then like 3 weeks later, the inverse is occurring, and you've got like this conversation back and forth. Yeah, and it's just like, guys, like just save yourself this
could have
like
been a
constant
Wingman.
back and forth. Yeah, you could just have a Wingman.
And on that note,
That's not bad.
that could have been a Wingman. All right, that's the good stuff.